Hey guys, this morning it's my privilege to introduce a young man who's an award-winning documentary filmmaker. His name is Justin Hunt. He began his career in high school where he won an award for a prestigious article that he did. Soon after, he turned his focus to broadcasting, and in New Mexico at the age of 18, he became the youngest news anchor on an NBC affiliate station. He later became the youngest news director, 18 years old, guys. He's won over 40 broadcasting awards, and he just told me this morning that he won a national award for one of his movies, American Meth, which he has out here this morning. In 2004, he left television, and after establishing his own production company called Time and Tide Productions, and over the next few years, he created a few hundred videos. Then in 2007, like I said, he finished American Meth. The narrator of the movie was Val Kilmer, if you guys remember him from Top Gun. And today we're here to talk about one of the movies we've been telling you about for so long. It's called Absent. And guys, I watched this movie. We're going to talk about it, navigate it this morning. I want to show you the trailer one more time before we bring Justin up, okay?
It's almost like while the world's falling apart, that there are really noble decisions being made.
Thousands waited in line to see the film tonight.
He's one of the many telling his story in a new documentary called Absent.
Let's give Justin a big hand. Justin, come on up, my friend.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Thanks for being here, man.
Morning,
Hey, guys.
How are you?
The movie Absent addresses the epidemic of disengaged fathers in our country. And man, I tell you what, it is an epidemic. I've been doing men's ministry for probably 10 or 11 years now. And one of the things I've really seen doing a lot of the programs that we do is just disengaged fathers. But this morning's about Justin and some of the answers that he has. And the first question I have for you, my friend, is what was the catalyst behind this movie? And, what's your background with it? How much of it's your story?
Well, that's kind of the funny thing is I think I've kind of given my dad a complex by making this film. I actually had a pretty engaged father, but so it's not about that. Poor guy. It's probably like, where'd I go wrong?
You didn't receive any death threats or anything, did you?
No. But, after we made American Meth, American Meth actually came from a men's ministry retreat. I was down with some guys in Mexico, and if you watch Absent, you'll see what I'm talking about, the trips that I'm talking about. And we were just talking about, are we doing what we're called to do, and during that trip, I decided that I was going to make this film, and so I did. I made American Meth, and so after that, I was trying to follow up on what would be next, and it felt like a hard act to follow because it had done fairly well, and it was making a difference. And so I was on a fishing trip to Val Kilmer's ranch, actually, with a mentor of mine who's in Absent, and we were just talking about what should come next. And at that time in my life, I had just gotten divorced, and I'm a single dad with 2 kids, and that was really weighing on me. And then I had these mentors in my life. I was in a morning men's group like this, and I had a lot of guys influencing me, and it was a heavy topic of conversation that seemed to always be there.
Yeah.
So there was that. There was the single father thing, and then thinking about my 2 kids, and if I wasn't there to raise my daughter or raise my son the right way, the thought crossed my mind that if I wasn't there, my daughter would look at Kim Kardashian and think that that's what being a woman is. And that's an unhealthy thought. And, I thought if I wasn't there, my son would think that Mike, the Situation from Jersey Shore is what being a guy is, and he would walk around with his shirt pulled up all the time, and that's not what we were wanting either. And
Absolutely.
So it was a number of things, and going through Wild at Heart, which if you guys have not read Wild at Heart, let me highly suggest that. that will change your life.
And John Eldridge is in
And
your
John
movie.
Eldridge is in the film, and so it was just a culmination of things. And so on that fishing trip, August 28th of 2007, I decided to make Absent.
Wow. Great story, man. How long did it take you to film the movie? I mean, was it over a period of time, a year?
From the time that I decided to make it until the time I showed it for the first time was 3 years.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it took me 3 years to, I took the first shot for Absent in Ireland in 2007, in December.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me ask you this, Justin. Why is the role of a father so important in the life of a child?
Well, I think one thing that a lot of us don't realize is that your father is the first person in the outside world that either chooses you or doesn't.
Yeah.
We have this inherent connection to our moms. I mean, we're physically connected to her. We're emotionally connected, and we're nursed by our mother. So our dad is the first other in the world that we kind of say, hey, what do you think? And so much is riding on the answer to that question or that set of questions. And just to clarify, I mean, little boys have a different set of questions than little girls, and they're very specific questions. I mean, for a boy, you'll hear, I mean, you don't really physically hear the question, but you can just see them asking, am I strong enough? Am I good enough? Do I have what it takes? Can I get this done? And then for the little girl, it's am I beautiful? Am I valuable? Do you value me? Do I have worth? Would
Yeah.
you fight for me? And so what makes that so important is that when those kids don't get those answers from their dads,
Yeah.
that's when they turn to the world to get those answers. And it's such a scary process watching people try to get those answers out there.
Yeah.
And you can see, if you really know what you're looking for, you can see where they're trying to get it. And with guys, it's competition and consumption. How much money can I earn? How many people can I beat in a sport or in work? How many women can I sleep with? How many toys can I get? And it's all trying to answer the question, am I worth something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Am I valuable? And for girls, it's affection and affirmation.
Yeah.
And that's where you see the materialism and like on Facebook, picture after picture after picture of me in a bikini or me trying to, I mean, do you guys notice me? That's basically what it is.
Yep.
Do you guys notice me? And sleeping with men and what's so sad about it is you'll see these people, they're just trying to put these emotional band-aids on each other.
Yeah.
Hurt people, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's really what it is trying to get those questions answered, but in a negative way.
Well, I think John does a great job in the movie when he talks about it, and even though our kids don't specifically ask the questions, I think it's up to us as fathers to tell them. And like you said, the implied question for boys is, am I good enough, and do I have what it takes? And even though they don't ask it, we got to tell them, man. We got to tell them that you're good enough. I'm proud of you. You have what it takes. And the one that really hit me, even though I don't have a daughter, the way John worded it is, do you delight in me? Mm-hmm. Will you protect me? Am I worth fighting for? And I thought that was so huge. Well, let me ask you this. How would you define an absent father? What would be your definition? And I know it could go any number of directions.
Well, yeah, there are a number of things that can make an absent father, and obviously, the literal connotation of that is someone who's gone, someone who's either passed away, which, that's unfortunate, but it happens, or someone who is actually taken off. And then you've got the absent father that's actually there, which I think can be more damaging, who is an alcoholic or a workaholic or Call of Duty-aholic. That seriously, I mean, there are 35-year-old, 40-year-old men that will pay absolutely no attention to their son who wants to go play ball and learn how to throw because nobody else is teaching him.
Yeah.
And they'll forget all about them so that they can play video games and just check out. That's the thing, is just become passive and check out. And a lot of that could be because they're scared of looking like they don't know how to do these things for their son, and so
maybe they've never taught themselves.
They'll mask it under something else. Like, I got to work right now, but the truth is they're scared to death because nobody taught them. And we address that in the film too, is just how this progression and when men started to migrate away from the family and
I
how
have
that's
that on here. Yeah, absolutely.
how that's affected everything and
Yeah.
and how 70 years ago, 80 years ago, we really didn't even have the term adolescence because the men were doing the job of raising their sons and their grandsons in these multi-generational households. And then we had this period where, 13 to 17, guys were trying to figure out what's going on. And there was nobody there to teach them. And you fast forward to now, and, if you're from Scottsdale, I'm sorry, but you can go to Scottsdale and there's like 50-year-old boys walking around. They're still in that adolescent phase.
Yeah.
Did I? Hope I didn't offend anybody there. But
no, and that's one of the things that you it's one of the things you really bring home in the movie is this extended adolescence. And there's a pastor out of Seattle that talks about it too, Mark Driscoll, and he talks about just this perpetual state. Go into that just a little bit more. I mean, what's that look like for guys now?
Well, and I love the way Eldridge puts it in the movie. He calls it a Peter Pan syndrome. And think about that, man. And you think about the guys that they're just... Well, Mike Lamborn is a friend of mine. He came with me today, and we were driving over here this morning. And, the speed limit's like 55. I'm going like 63, trying to get to the freeway. And this guy's in a silver Toyota. I hope you're here. This guy's in a silver Toyota, and, I'm not going 90, but I'm going 8 miles over the speed limit. And so we get on the interstate, and he passes me, and he flips me off because I guess I was holding him up. And that's what it looks like. Well, no, that's everywhere, and that's what it looks like.
No, you're exactly right. Yeah.
And Mike and I were talking about it. When you don't have that settledness in your soul and that understanding of who you are, that self-actualization, then the whole world is like outside in, like everything's about me. But when you've got that, then it's inside out, and it's like you become a selfless person, and you're not so just self-absorbed, and that self-absorption comes from fear of trying to prove who you are in one way or another. And so that's really what it looks like. It's about the 50-year-old guy who's got highlighted hair and ripped jeans and pointy-toed boots, and I'm just generalizing, and pointy-toed boots, and they're trying to sleep with 21-year-old women or girls, 21-year-old girls, because here's the thing: if I don't know who I am as a man, then I'm going to have to get my answer from somebody else.
Yep.
And so if I can get her to sleep with me, then I must be valuable.
Yes.
Because there's no authoritative ownership in who they are.
Yeah, and the other thing that John said in the movie, and he described it this way: it's that perpetual quest for validation.
Absolutely. And with the girls, it's that perpetual quest for affirmation.
Affirmation, exactly. When you made the film, what's one thing that caught you off guard? Or one thing that surprised you in your research doing the film?
Oh, wow, man. I think just how universal it is. I didn't see it so much in making it, because when you're making it, you're so involved in it, and you're getting it done. But what surprised me was showing it. We've screened the film in 7 countries now, in Spain, England, France, Germany, here in the U.S., and the reaction is the same everywhere we show it. Like I could show American Meth in Germany or France, and okay, that's an American problem, but whatever. But I show Absent, and it's the same reaction from every person, because everybody's got a father. And I think I didn't realize the magnitude. And the other thing, I guess, in the making of it was, I talked to prostitutes on the streets, and like I gave them $20 to talk to me for 5 minutes. And I'm talking like, you talk about guerrilla filmmaking. I mean, there's a pimp sitting behind me, and he's counting. I'm not kidding you. He is counting the 5 minutes. And I'm asking this girl questions about her dad and things like that, and she gave me these answers. And then I'm sitting with one of the biggest rock and roll stars in the history of music, and the lead singer of Metallica, and we all know who that is. And they gave me the same answers to the questions.
Yeah.
It's just they went different directions with that wound. He turned it into music, and it just happened to become what it is. And then she turned it into trying to find validation, which it was just a slow spiral down to where she's at. And that's what's in the film, too. I mean, in the film we talk about What the film really does is in the first 30 minutes, there's a lot of information about the kind of stuff that we're talking about now and recognizing the wound and the vow and those kinds of things. And then the last hour of the film are all these different stories of people, like Johnny Tapia, like the prostitutes, inner city high school kids, Hetfield from Metallica. And, you know, with Hetfield, we show how the wound turned into music. And then with the prostitutes, we basically went to, what I tried to do with the editing of this is that we talk to the prostitute, and then we tell everybody about, in 2009, on the west side of Albuquerque, they found a mass grave with 11 women in it. And they were all prostitutes. One was pregnant. And so the point is that they would not have been in that grave if they had not been prostitutes. And they would not have been prostitutes if they would have had a father in their life. And I asked the prostitute too, I said, what do you think your life would have been like if you'd have had a father around? And you know, when you're talking to them, they're this callous, you know, I don't care. And she was totally tweaked out on drugs too. I don't care and whatever, just, you know, like trying to deflect any kind of emotion or anything. And when I asked her what it would have been like to have a dad, all that went away, and she became human, just like that.
She did, man. You made a great statement in the movie, you know. What was the quote? Visibly shaken, visibly human.
Yeah, when I asked her, you know, what it would have meant to her to become or to have a father, and she became visibly human. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now you make a great connection between the World War II generation, which was predominantly an agrarian society, and then the industrial society, and its effect on raising children. Make that connection here this morning.
Well, it was just like I was saying. I mean, before that World War II generation and that second kind of coming of the Industrial Revolution, we had that multi-generational household, and where, you know, fathers created
with grandparents
with fathers and grandfathers creating this forum for boys to kind of slowly go into manhood. And then when all that was over and this new revolution began, you had this role specification.
Yeah.
Mother was the caretaker and the nurturer and the homemaker, and father was the breadwinner. I make my checks, I come home, I eat my TV dinner, and I'm done. You handle the rest. And it just left the kids in limbo, and no one really answering those questions for them. And that's what I'm saying is that first generation of fatherless children, 13 to 17, that's where they were kind of trying to figure it out. But I think at that time in the mindset, by around 18, they're like, well, I need to get to work or enlist or whatever it is. But now it's, 35, 40, 45-year-old boys that still, because there's just been so many generations who have not been able to pass it on.
Exactly right. The other thing that really hit me in the movie is you talk about some amazing statistics in the home when there's no father present. The statistics of kids that get involved in rape, in murder, in theft, and all this type of stuff, the violence, the suicide. When I was in law enforcement in Gilbert years ago, my youngest arrest was 9 years old. 9 years old. 9-year-old boy who was basically out of control at his elementary school, kicked a firefighter in the groin, criminally damaged a room, and I threw the kid in handcuffs. Immediately, that changed. It just completely changed. He broke down. It was like you cut through this exterior. And after the arrest, his father had the audacity to call me on the phone and say, I guess you think you're a big man arresting my boy. And I said, where are you at? He says, well, I'm out of town on business. I said, maybe if you were here, I wouldn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's before any of this. But talk about that. Talk about some of the statistics, man, because that was huge.
Well, I mean, I don't have them memorized, but I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, you look at some of the statistics, and I think it's, kids in a fatherless household are 20 times more likely to commit rape, 14 times more likely to commit rape, 20 times more likely to be repeat arsonists, 19 times more likely to drop out of school. I mean, just things like that, over and over and over, and that really just shows the impact of someone not being there, giving them that guidance, and it's alarming when you put those statistics together and you see it in totality. That's where you really see the impact of an absent dad.
Absolutely. We saw it all the time. In the story, Justin follows some amazing folks, some amazing stories. And, you and I talked just before you got here this morning, and it just so happens that two of them were my favorites, the ones I had you send me clips of. One of them is Johnny Tapia. We're going to show a clip of Johnny Tapia right now, and after that, you have another story about him you want to share.
Yeah.
So,
I got into boxing at the age in 76, I'm sorry. In 1976, I got into boxing and said, you know what, I would never do drugs. Look at the way it is, it's stupid. I want to show my kids something that they didn't show me.
With 42 wins, no losses, 2 draws with 24 wins coming by way of knockout. Tonight, he celebrates his birthday by defending his title for the 13th time. Here is the undefeated IBF and WBO Junior Bantamweight Champion of the world, introducing the baby face assassin. Here is Johnny Tapia.
Truth is that I got a broken heart, and I don't think it'll ever be fixed. And the reason why I tell you the truth is because I want to help others. But I'm pretty tore up from the floor up. Truth is, and the fact is that I miss my mom and dad. And I'll probably die that way. And that I know. That I know for a fact.
wow.
Yeah, it's like a 6-year-old boy that will knock you out. He's just
That's the impression I got from the movie.
Yeah, he's just so.
That'll kill you.
He's so. And it worked great for him in the ring. That anger, that father wound, all that stuff. It worked great for him in the ring, but it didn't translate outside. And he struggled with that his whole life. For those of you who don't know Johnny, he's a 7-time world champion. He just won. He won for the 7th time. And he's 43 or 44 now.
Yeah.
And but he's also tried to kill himself twice. He's overdosed 3 times. He's been in prison 3 times, and he's just a mess. And so anyhow, would you like me to tell my story now?
Absolutely.
So I gotta tell you a story, and I don't want to ruin anything for you, but it's kind of a select group, so I don't mind sharing it. It's a bonus feature on the DVD too. So the announcement, anyways. So the first time we screened the film is August of last year in Albuquerque, and Johnny has agreed to come to the screening. But he's kind of hard to nail down. He's, like I said, he's all over the place. He's kind of hard to nail down and corral into something. So, we've been promoting that he's coming to the screening. In New Mexico, Johnny's a huge deal. He's a big deal. And so, everybody's pretty excited about it, and I keep calling. I'm trying to get a hold of him just to confirm that he's coming. And I'm not getting any contact with Johnny, and I'm getting a little nervous. So the screening is on Saturday. Monday, I call and I don't get any response. Tuesday, no response. Wednesday, I drive to Albuquerque. Still no response. I'm really nervous
This
now.
is your first screening.
This is the
very first one.
Premiere of the movie.
Wow.
And everybody thinks Johnny's coming to this screening. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, nothing. And I'm getting frantic, but I don't want to sound frantic, but I am. So finally, Thursday, 2 days before the screening, I finally get a hold of his wife, Teresa, who's also his manager. Wonderful woman. And a saint, because I have no idea how she stuck around that long. So I talked to her, and she's like, "Oh, we're really sorry. There's just been some stuff going on, and I wanted to call you and let you know what's happening." And she tells me this story. So we're going to put that on hold, and we're going to fast forward to Saturday. I'm going to tell you the story exactly how I told the crowd at the screening, because he did come, by the way. So we had about 300 people at this screening, and we show the film. And so anyways, I get up and I introduce Johnny Tapia, and I tell this story. I said, about 6 weeks ago, now this is August of last year. About 6 weeks ago, Johnny and Teresa got into a business conversation with a man by the name of Jerry Padilla. And they started talking about some business things and some background, and they started kind of noticing some things that were interesting. And so the conversations continued, and they decided to investigate something. And on Thursday, 2 days ago, they came to the conclusion of this investigation. And so I said, so I'd like to introduce to you publicly for the first time Jerry Padilla. This is Johnny Tapia's father.
Wow.
His mom and the Padilla family, Johnny's mom's family and the Padilla family didn't get along. She got pregnant by Jerry Padilla, and they couldn't tell anybody, so she told Johnny that his dad had died.
Said he'd been murdered.
Said he was murdered.
Said he was murdered.
So Johnny grew up his entire life without a father. Then his mom died, and he's got nobody. And he lived his entire life that way.
Oh, dude, that's huge.
43 years old, finds out he's got a dad. And so we're sitting there, me and Johnny and his dad, watching this movie. It was phenomenal.
Oh, my gosh.
Phenomenal.
Man, oh, man.
And so
Is that on video anywhere?
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Bonus feature.
Is it really? Is it? I didn't watch the bonus ones. Oh, my gosh. What a great story,
We'll be right out front after the...
Yeah, there you go.
Tip your waitresses.
You know, he has so many incredible stories, guys. He follows the life of a woman and her daughter, and her daughter's name is Andrea. And of course, mom had the father wound, and it translated down to the daughter. And it was just what the daughter was reaching out for. It was a heart-wrenching question, am I worth fighting for? And the little girl says it's right on film, just some really profound stuff. It's just like she had nobody that was willing to fight for her.
Right.
But I got to be honest, the one that really hit home with me, guys, is the Robin Decker story, and I wanted you to tell me a little bit about that. Guy, we have a clip of Robin Decker too. Let's go with that for right now.
Afraid to report the incidents to anyone, they continued. Meanwhile, Robin adopted a sad reality of what women were for, assuming that they were only objects to be used sexually. She found herself alienated from classmates and surrounded by older guys. Those guys were simply part of her quest for validation.
You know, the 18 to 24-year-old guys, that's all they were interested in was sex, and they didn't care how old I was. And that was the only acceptance that I found was with the older guys. And the sex I related to love. And that's all I wanted. Love. That's it.
And when it was over, was it there?
No.
Yeah, Robin's an interesting story and a sad story. She got pregnant for the first time when she was 13, and she had her first child at 14. She had her second child at 16. She had her third child at 19. She had her fourth child at 22. And I would love to sit here and tell you that there's a happy ending to every story, but I mean, she's doing well. She's a fitness model. She does a lot of stuff like that, some acting and things like that, but you see where she's at, and she's still dealing with that. She's still dealing with that. She's still begging, for people to see her and do that. And that's what, it just goes to show how bruising that wound can be. Yeah, because even having gone through this process and purging a lot of that, and then starting to understand a lot of that, still has that wound and is trying to get those answers out there.
And the reason why that resonated so much with me is because, quite honestly, that's my wife's story. Other than the sexual abuse from a father and different things like that, guys, her father prostituted one of her daughters out at the age of 15, one of my wife's sisters, and up until about 3 weeks ago, one of her other sisters was contemplating suicide simply because of a bad marriage and the whole father wound thing and all this type of stuff. And one of the cool parts is I've told my wife about this movie, and she's going to watch it with me. And so I'm prepared for that now. So it's like, so hopefully we can navigate that together, some of the baggage that she's dealt with all her life. I got to ask you, You know, there's so many cool things in the movie, and I think I know the answer to this one before I even ask it, but what was your favorite interview? What was your...
Let's see. Inner city high school kids or
James
the
Hetfield.
lead singer of my favorite band since 5th grade. No, I mean, it's been a fantastic experience working on everything, but without a doubt, the connection with Het, and I mean, literally, since 5th grade, he's been, Metallica's been my favorite band, and I'm not one of those guys that's ever been like, oh, I want to be like that guy. I think he's one of the coolest cats on the planet, and always has been. And so to not only get him involved in the film, which I thought was impossible, I really did, which is why I didn't really even try until something magical happened. But not only getting him involved, because he got involved in the film to talk about his father and how he turned that wound into music.
Yeah.
But we've become good friends, and he's said publicly that the movie and his friendship with me has changed his entire life and the life of his kids. And we did a screening. He came out here to Phoenix. Guy, he flew Southwest Airlines out here, rented a car, and we went to some little Mexican restaurant and had dinner with the kids, and then went to Mesa and did a screening. And it's changed his life, and we've become good friends. As a matter of fact, I'm flying out tonight to screen it at his church in San Francisco, and we're getting our kids together this weekend. I mean, that's the kind of relationship it's turned into, which it's just crazy, man. It's crazy what God can do when He knows that something good can come out of the work and glorify Him. Hopefully, is what we're doing with it.
Absolutely.
And so that's really been my favorite part of that. That and the backstage passes to the show at Yankee Stadium. That was pretty cool. Not going to lie about that. No, but it's been really neat to see how it's changed him. And also, a bonus feature on the DVD is... Is that shameless?
That's
shameless?
awesome, man. What a great plug. You shared something with me at lunch, though.
Well, hold on. I want to finish telling these guys this. For those of you who have read Wild at Heart...
That's where I was going with it.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
I felt the segue.
Telling you.
But there's 2 Q&A sessions with James and I on here. But the thing that's really interesting is we went on Fox News together, Fox and Friends, in March. And I had just sent him Wild at Heart about 2 weeks before that. And we're on Fox News, and he's just throwing out all this Wild at Heart lingo on Fox. Warrior and adventure, and I'm going to step up and be the warrior, and I've got a battle, and all. And I'm just sitting there looking at him, because I know where he's getting this, and it was really, really cool to watch that come out, and he's continued to use that lingo since publicly, and that's really exciting. Not because it's James Hetfield, but because I've helped another man get to the place that I've been lucky enough to get because of other men that helped me get there. So.
Absolutely, and that's awesome. As we close this out today, I want to ask you the million-dollar question. So what? What's next? I've identified the wound. Where do I go from here?
Well, I think identifying it is, not to make light of the question, but it's kind of like G.I. Joe used to say, knowing is half the battle. And I think that's what this really is what we're hoping for is that this lifts the veil to understand a lot of things that are going on in your life and some of the struggles you may have because of your father wound, but also some of the problems or wounds that you may be causing that can be stopped by understanding. And when you start to understand something, that's when you can begin to change it. If you go, waltzing blithely through the world and not really even knowing that you're doing anything, how can you change it? But when you start to understand something, that's when you can wake up and say, you know what? When your daughter asks you a question, you can see through her 6-year-old question into what she really needs to know.
Absolutely.
And you can handle her heart properly.
Yeah.
Or when your boy, asks you to give him an opportunity to prove his valiancy in some way.
Yeah.
Dad, can I walk down to the mailbox by myself? Yeah, you can. I know you can do it. Because you'll be amazed at what that does. And so just, understanding what is going on, I think, is the first part of what's next. And the second thing is just using that new vision to really change the lives of your children, change the lives of yourselves, to reevaluate the role in your marriage, and to understand the people around you, and to start looking inside out as opposed to outside in, to quit flipping people off on the interstate.
Exactly. It's quit blaming somebody else.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, quit being a
victim.
Quit being a victim.
Exactly.
And look, I mean, everybody's got a different story, and some people's stories are harder than others. But that it's an opportunity for you to start to understand and take control of your life. And there's no role that's more noble in this life than the role that you play as a father. None. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
And I love the fact that, you know what, I know it would suck to get up this early part and come to this thing with your dad, but it's awesome that you did that. You know what I mean?
That's great, man.
And I think it's awesome that you brought him. Yeah. And I just, it's amazing. And the ball player that came, pink socks and all, that's cool. I'm glad you're here. I don't know where you went, but I'm glad you're here. Because that's the kind of stuff we need to see more of.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's a corner, so it's cool, defensive back.
Exactly.
So we're cool
right.
like that, man.
Well, I want to close out with this. About 3 weeks ago, Justin was interviewed on Carl Clausen's radio show in Chicago, and Carl Clausen's one of our favorites. And I think, one of my favorite questions, and I'm going to end with this one, man. Alive or dead, how do we honor an absent father?
Yeah, I love that question too, and I'm glad that Carl asked me that, because it's something we lose sight of. And if you've had an absent dad, I mean, number one thing you want to do is be angry because of the damage he did. But I want you to stop and reevaluate where you're at, not only in your life, but literally right here. You're here because it's a Christian men's group, and we want to live our lives with the understanding that we are under the umbrella of God's grace and we can be forgiven. And we know that if we pray and we give our heart to Him, that we will be forgiven. However, we struggle with the ability to forgive. And think of the hypocrisy in that. We expect to be forgiven because we've been told that we will be, but we're not willing to forgive others.
Wow.
And so I think that is one of the first steps, is to if you've got a father wound and you're mad, he's gone, even if you don't know who he is, or he's around and you don't want to deal with it, the first step is to start understanding what it means that you can be forgiven, and then pass that on and pass on that grace and learn to forgive the people who have done those things to you.
Yeah.
And I think you'll be amazed at the doors that will open and the green light feeling you get from God in saying, yep, that's what I want you to do. And I think that will lance so many wounds for people that are dealing with that anger. And
absolutely.
It's important, man. It's important to be able to do that. And maybe, I mean, not even just your father, but anybody who has that toxic effect on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's my suggestion on that.
Good stuff, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming. Guys, I want to pray us out of here with a prayer over Justin this morning. He's going to be at the back table, guys. Justin makes his living doing this through screenings and things like that. I'd ask that you support him. If anything you said, we said here this morning resonates, and I got to be honest, it resonated huge with me. I've already bought like 3 of them, and because I'm going to show them to people. It's that good, guys. So I pray that you guys would, take advantage of that. He's going to be at the back, so come during table time or after, whatever. We're going to be hanging out back there for a little while, but I want to close this out in prayer. God, I thank you so much for Justin, his heart for you, his heart to just change lives. It's what we're all about here at Cornerstone, connecting men, changing lives, God. And I pray that you give him safety on his flight to San Francisco tonight, that he would continue his testimony in front of James Hetfield and his family, and maybe we got another rock star on his way to becoming a Christian guy for you, God. If that's in the cards, how awesome would that be, God? I just pray that you continue to bless his ministry, that you'd give him the screenings and things like that, and for his upcoming things, God. I just pray that you'd just pour out your blessing on him in an immense way. We just thank you for him being here this morning. In Jesus' name, amen. Guys, give it up for Justin.